The Derek talks about blank with blank.
Podcast, Episode 1, Paden.
All the saints I'm at your feet.
Hello and welcome to the Derek Talks About Blank with Blank podcast. This first episode guest is Paden. They are a Nashville-based indie pop rock band, and they recently released an album in April of this year. They got signed on to Vian Isaac's record label Vohnic Music in the mid-2018. They have over 7,800 monthly listeners on Spotify currently, and over 800 followers on Spotify, 5,000 followers on Facebook, and over 4,000 on Instagram. And their top stream song on Spotify is Have I Found My Home, with over 140,000 streams, which is like a feat for such a small band and such a beginning band. I mean, you guys are only in this for like now 2 years in the artist game. So thank you guys so much for coming on. It is
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Okay, so let's go over so general questions that I have for you, and I'll have for every guest on the podcast for future episodes. So for you guys, what other artists or bands or even other things, like whether it's TV shows, movies, anything, what are your biggest inspirations for your music?
You want to go first?
Yeah, I mean, that's a really good question. I think for me, my biggest inspiration is kind of like the musicians that I love, honestly. And also the musicians that I grew up listening to, because I know as a kid, I took so much comfort in music, and I strive to write the things that 16-year-old me would really appreciate, and so I think that's the biggest inspiration for me. So
yeah, for me the answer is Coldplay. Pretty much.
What did you think of their last album?
I liked it a lot. I'm surprised there's swear words on it, which is something I never would have thought would happen on a Coldplay album and stuff like that.
Oh, totally, yeah.
It's interesting. I hate that, and this might be a bigger topic for a bigger question or whatever, but I hate that music has become so streaming based, so all the songs are really short so that they can rack up the stream royalties instead of these longer kind of more melodically movement based pieces your Fix Yous and your Death and All His Friends, stuff like that. But I liked a lot of it, and I revisited it a couple days ago, and I was surprised with how much I liked it. There was the one with what's the one with Jacob Collier,
there's 2 or 3 of the songs that Jacob Collier collabed with.
The one with the Cry Cry Cry. I really like that.
Yes.
song.
Favorite on the album. So good.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
I thought there were more hits than misses, I thought there were a couple of songs that I wasn't wild about, but for the most part, I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I can see that. So next question. Do you ever find a deeper connection to one of the songs you make, but then another song that you weren't expecting to get popular gets popular? And I mean, I asked whoever runs the Instagram account.
It's both of us.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I know I asked you that on Instagram, about a month ago, and we were just talking about how apparently my most streamed song on Spotify is You're Out of Reach demo, and I just threw that out there. I was like, yeah, I'll just record this and throw it out on a whim. And I mean, I personally don't even like the song because it's literally garage band crappy guitar, and it's me while I was slightly sick, so my voice is absolute crap, and there's only reverb on the ooh section. It's literally the most demo version of a demo song. It's
for sure.
So, but then that got popular, and I was like, how did this song get popular? So you guys explain. Yeah.
I will say there's some cool back before I knew how to play guitar, I would use GarageBand, the GarageBand guitar stuff. And like, if you do like swells the right way, you can make some weird sounds. Like, it's fun, that little guitar simulator thing. But to your question, yeah, I think Have I Found My Home is our biggest song. And I don't think we originally wanted to record that. And I think
Really?
Vian convinced us to do it. It was one that I demoed out, and I didn't know what I wanted it to sound like. She wrote the second verse, but I wrote the first verse, and I couldn't figure out what I wanted it to sound like, you know? And so to me, it was just it never struck me as a song that I was like, oh, I'll not finish this one. And then I sent Vian, when we were figuring out songs for the album, I sent him just a folder of 100 demos, and he liked that one and picked it out. And I don't know if you felt the same way about that song, but
I wouldn't say Have I Found My Home. I've always like really enjoyed that song, but that probably is because it has a bit more sentimental value. But one song that I was really surprised about was Sail On. That was one song that it was kind of like a last minute add-on. Like, we were like wanting to make it a bit more of an even, fill in some more songs. So we're like, oh, we'll throw in Sail On. That one's all right. We'll do that. And then it ended up like kind of skyrocketing. It was the first like really big playlist ad on Spotify that we got, and like Sail On kind of set the pace for everything. And so that was really cool. I did not expect that to happen at all.
So I actually found out about Vian like start of 2018, end of 2017. I don't remember how I found out about him, honestly, but after I found him, then I found like all the other artists and bands that he had done through Vohnic Music. So I like fell in love with the Arcadian Wild, Ben Laver, Juniper Vale. Like I fell in love with like all of them. And then when he announced you guys, I was like, oh, this sounds cool. I'll just go check this out. And I was like, Sail On was like, it like blew my mind for some reason. I was just and I mean, at the time I was like, yeah, Don't Hold Back is like a good song because you like released them on like the same day or whatever. And I was like, yeah, that's a good song. But now as I've listened to the album more like this week, because I actually want to do like a really, really deep dive into the album just to like look at lyrics and just revisit songs that I hadn't listened to much. And I was like, this is actually like a fantastic song. I don't know why I was like kind of partial to this. What was my problem in 2018?
Because we released those on the same day, and we pushed Don't Hold Back. You know how you can, on Spotify, you can submit to their curators and they'll maybe listen to it and whatever. So we did that with Don't Hold Back, and then Sail On was the one that got kind of picked up, which was super weird and surprising, but whatever, that's fine. So I don't think either of us expected it to for Sail On to jump out the gates as fast as it did.
Yeah, and I think honestly we've had this very similar conversation with Vian and Sara from Juniper Vale about how it's just a common occurrence. Like the things you expect to do well don't really meet your expectations, and vice versa. The things you don't really expect to do super well right off the bat are always the ones to kind of push forward and do really well. So
and I guess the other side of that was Ghost of You was one that we thought was really gonna do numbers, do work, and it kind of came out of the gate a little slow, and it's picked up since then, but it definitely didn't do what we thought it was going to do initially. That was when we put a lot of our like marketing, creative advertising behind, and it didn't blow up as much as the other ones did, and we're just like, oh, I guess people have different opinions on stuff.
Honestly, I actually had to grow on that song. Like at first I was like, yeah, this is good, I guess. That was kind of the same with Scars. Like I was like, at first I was like, yeah, this is a good song. And then like after I started to listen to it more, I'm like, this is a good song. I got to listen to this more. What was I missing out?
I think that's what the general vibe with Ghost of You was it's one of those songs that I was so attached to it for so long. So I wrote that song. That was that's probably the oldest song on the album. I wrote it in maybe 2015, 2014. Or at least the chorus anyway. I just had that chorus for forever. And I just was like, this chorus is gonna change the world. I never could nail the verses.
Yeah.
And I think it is one of those songs that it grew on people eventually, because it's I think one of the higher stream count songs, but not super high of like listeners, if that makes sense. So like people repeat listen to it. So people that like it, they've discovered it, and I don't know. So I think that's how I would interpret those numbers anyways, is it's one that people grew on.
Sure. Okay. Favorite artists or bands at the moment? Like just currently.
Yeah.
Like what are you streaming?
That's a tough one. I mean, I feel like I regularly go to Bear's Den,
Ooh.
The Killers, and Sara Bareilles. Those are probably my three that are almost always in my rotation constantly.
Wow.
So.
I've been doing a lot of discography. Like I'll find a group and just like start at like their first album and just let it play throughout the entirety of their career. I did that with like the Beach Boys a couple days ago. Just started at like I think their first one's called like Surfin' USA or something like that. And just started at that, and then like watch their sound evolve all the way to like Pet Sounds and Smile, like, and you realize how innovative they were at the time, you know, with the cool sounds that they put on that album. So that's 1975 was another one that I did that with the other day, just like hit play at the start and kind of let it go down.
I will say, like, probably my most favorite music at the time, like at this moment, is Manchester Orchestra's A Black Mile at the Surface. That's probably the album that I listen to the most at the moment. So.
Yeah. For some reason, because you guys probably saw how I posted like right at the start of the recent Black Lives Matter movement, I made that playlist of hashtag Black Lives Matter on my artist playlist. And so most of what I've actually been streaming is just that playlist. And I've just been like adding as I found new artists. And for some reason, I've just had this weird revelation that Chance the Rapper's non-explicit tracks are like fantastic. I've been listening to those, and I'm gonna say her name wrong, and this is just because I don't know how to say her name right. But Liana La Havas, I think is I probably just said it wrong, but her 4 newest singles, I think they just blow my mind how musical her stuff is. Like it just feels nice.
I'll have to check that out. That's awesome. Yeah, Chance the Rapper. Oh my goodness.
One of my favorites. That's great.
The one that he does with Ben Gibbard, the Do You Remember song, that like I love.
Oh yes.
Such a
so
good
good.
song.
The thing was, I never listened to Death Cab for Cutie, but I have listened a ton to what was he in? He was in with one album. I have it on vinyl. Wait, say that again?
Service?
Yes, Postal Service.
Yeah.
I was like, I recognized the voice. I'm like, where did I recognize this voice? I'm like, it took me like a good like 2 days just to realize it was the lead singer of Postal Service, because I never heard Death Cab for Cutie. I mean, I heard of the band name. I've heard of that, obviously. I've just never heard any of their music. But that is a good song. Honestly, I think probably my favorite from him right now is either Same Drugs or the one on his newest album. It's the only one or the non-explicit one where he sings, because you know how he has those like few tracks where he actually sings instead of raps in it.
For sure.
Oh, Town on a Hill. Town on a Hill.
Yeah.
That is a good song. Very chill though, compared to a lot of his other stuff that I've heard.
Yeah, he's fantastic.
Yeah.
His song, I don't know if you're familiar with what's his name? Francis and the Lights, but he does a song with Francis and the Lights called "May I Have This Dance," and it's fantastic.
I haven't heard. I need to look it up now.
He does a lot of stuff with Bon Iver and Kanye West and that kind of crew.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
But yeah, Chance the Rapper, fantastic.
So good. Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. Okay. That next gen cue is for the last question, so I will skip that for now. So let's move on to my questions that I have for you,
Sure.
which, yeah, you guys saw them already, but these are kind of deep lyrically, mainly, because honestly, I think that you guys, even though you guys do focus a lot on the instrumentals or the musicality of your music, you guys really, really dig deep with your lyrics. So first question. So I recently noticed, like this was really early on this week, when I was doing the deep dive into the album, that I noticed your song Songbird sounds really, really similar to a Juniper Vale song because it has like the two things that make a Juniper Vale song, which are
Yeah.
ethereal vocal chops and a slight hint of banjo in the background. I mean, those are the two things that make her music.
Absolutely.
So did you guys like work on it with her, or like was she like helpful with that? Because like it sounds really, really close to something that she would make.
Yeah. So so Songbird actually was meant in its original form to be an upbeat folk song. And that was kind of its original form. That was how it was written. And when we started really thinking about working on it, we realized like we would love to see it take on something darker, you know, and really bring out the depth that is in the lyrics. And so when we brought it to Vian, we were kind of just like, we don't really know, because we're too close to it. We don't know how to get what we want out of it. So we kind of just let Vian have his way and take it to wherever he wanted to and have like a ton of creative freedom. And legitimately what happened was we told him that, and a few days later we went into the studio and he played us that, and we're like, this is it, you know. And I don't know if you know this, but Vian also produces a lot of Juniper Vale stuff.
Yeah,
and,
he does.
And so he, I feel like, just really merged the two really well. And I think this song really lent itself to Juniper Vale vibes, you know?
And also Juniper Vale, she has a song called Bird Song.
Bird Song, yeah.
So I thought that was funny that
yeah.
We had Songbird and she has Bird Song.
Yeah.
The banjo's been there since day one. That was something that
Really?
Yes.
It was because Sabrina won't admit this maybe on camera, but she grew up in the country world. Her sister's in
I did.
country music and stuff like that.
I did.
And so I think that song was originally a country song. So that's where the banjo kind of came from.
Mm-hmm.
And I was in a folk band in college, so I have a banjo and kind of ish know how to play it. The guy from Jude and the Lion taught me like 2 cool tricks. On
Really?
banjo.
You guys have met Jude and
Oh
Lion?
yeah, we went to school together. They all live down the hall from me.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, they're great guys. We shot a couple of their music videos when Vian and I lived together in our attic. There's a couple of videos that we shot up there. And so that day while he was doing it, he taught me this one cool trick on banjo. It's the only like cool thing I know how to do. And so for that song, I got to use that little trick where you like make a C shape and then slide it up to the D and stuff like that. And it's like the one cool thing I know how to do on banjo. But yeah, that's been there since day one.
Hey, at least you're more advanced than me. I don't know how to play guitar or banjo or any string music or string instrument for that matter.
Gotcha.
So.
But yeah, I guess to summarize, like Sara definitely had a lot of influence in the sound, because her sound was essentially what we were trying to achieve, was that darker, ethereal, but still keeping the folk vibes there, you know.
Even though her newer stuff, I think, has, in a way, like a lot of her older stuff was like a lot darker, and like with stuff like Mirror Mirror and what are other newer songs? Like blanking on songs. I'm just saying Mirror Mirror because that's my favorite one of hers. But I mean, it's like so bright with the bells.
Slow It Down is really bright. That's one of my favorite songs.
Yeah.
And then The Expanse is another one that's
The Expanse.
Oh, yeah.
There's a lot of brightness in that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. What was the idea behind the design of the album cover for Pass? And for the audience that doesn't know Paden as well, they actually get all their covers done by a guy named Hein Zayman. Is that how you say it?
Zayman.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And he's also the brother of Vian Isaac. And he collabs with a lot of the Vohnic music artists and does their art for them. So what was like the design pattern of it? Like what was the idea behind that? Like
so for all the albums, because we did a bunch of singles leading up to the album, we wanted something that we could keep, I guess, brand consistent, but be able to change out. So we had the idea of doing kind of a sketch with a colored background, and for every single changing out the color. And so we had Hein, do those like watercolor sketches on like little napkin drawings that we did. So he presented all of those. And then for the final cover, we were like, well, this is the album. We can't just have it be another of the same thing. So we were trying to figure out how to do that. And at the same time, we were trying to figure out like an icon that could kind of be a logo, like Prince's little weird squiggle thing. And, we were trying to figure out like an icon that we could use.
Yeah, something like easily recognizable where you put it on something and it's obviously us,
Yeah, and so for the longest time it was going to be a compass. And then I just couldn't figure out a cool way to do a compass that wasn't done, a million times before.
Yeah, I get that.
So we went with we knew the album was going to be called Paths, and we were like, well, it's something that like you would figure out paths with, and that's kind of where that idea of the sextant, that compass telescope tool came from, was that, I think.
Yeah.
I think you were sitting there and you were like, the thing that Johnny Depp uses in the Pirates of the Caribbean movie. And we had to like Google search, what is the thing called from the Pirates of the Caribbean
movie? Nobody knows what it's called, but everybody knows what it is.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that's kind of where that came. And then putting it in gold. I wanted to do like gold foil, but you'd lose a lot of the intricacies of what Hein did in the illustration. So we ended up just doing like a gold coloring on it. But I still think it turned out really cool. And I'm trying to look around to see if we have any CDs in the room, but I don't see any.
Yeah.
Also, I'd hold it up to the camera, but
do you want the photo on here? Because I can just share the screen.
if you want, you can pop it up.
Share screen. Yep. Right here. Share the screen. So that's what it looks like to the audience if you haven't seen it before. Yeah, so it's like kind of the telescope. That's the sextet, I guess. The thing in the middle. Yeah. Okay, so that's what it looks like with the gold and the bluish, grayish, silverish background. Yeah. So, and I know you mentioned this before we started recording, but the name, Paden, and the name of your album, Pass, how'd you get that?
Yeah, so the name came from the name of the street that we bought our first house on. That's where that name came from. And then the name is actually Dutch for the word paths. And we use the word paths like 2 or 3 times on the album. like throughout it. I was like, oh, it's kind of cool that that's in there as well.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where that idea kind of came from and took shape.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. So in your song Ghost of You, the main character is talking about being haunted with the memory of someone they love dearly. When you first wrote the song, was it written because this was experienced by one of you, a friend or family member of yours, or was this based off of another story, like a book, movie, TV show, something like that? Or is it just
Ghost of
something
You.
you wrote?
Ghost of You was there was every year my family puts out a calendar of. I have like a really big family that all live up in Canada, and we put out a calendar with just like pictures from the year and stuff like that. And the cover of it was a picture of my grandparents dancing at their wedding,
Oh.
like in the 40s, I think. I'm not sure what year it was, but way back in the day. So it was like an old grainy black and white
Yeah.
kind of sepia photo. And my grandmother at the time, she's passed since, but she had Alzheimer's really bad. And we kind of all knew the end was coming and stuff like that. And so that's more or less where the idea came from. It was in the same room as me when I was playing piano, and that's just kind of the words kind of came out like with that. And I wanted to write it so it was vague enough to where if you like just got like broke up with your girlfriend, you could relate to it emotionally that way, but that's kind of the core of where it originated. And then I think that's the only song that you and I didn't write completely ourselves. We took it to a buddy of mine, Cole, who sings on it. He's got like this low baritone voice, so he sings on it. He's one of the harmonies towards the end of it, and then Vian as well. And so the four of us kind of finalized the verses, because I could never get the verses right. So I've probably written like 7 or 8 verses to that song, and I'm just like, I hate all of these. So that's kind of how that came along. It was a long process.
To put into perspective the process, Ghost of You was one of the first songs that Phillip ever played for me when we first started dating.
Whoa.
And that was 6 years ago.
Yeah.
So yeah,
it's a long time.
Mm-hmm.
A haunting song for a first song to play to a girlfriend, honestly. Yeah. So your song Stories has the lyric, "Tell me, do you see what's broken and bruised about me?" So the theme of loving someone who has flaws or scars and taking that person as they are and not making them a quote-unquote project, as some people might phrase it, shows up really, really often in your album Paths. Why did you choose this theme to like pop up so often throughout like 3 or 4 different songs on the album?
So Stories was a song I wrote actually right when Phillip and I first started dating. And about yours truly. And really what it was that specific line came from a feeling of in the past, it's always been when someone has gotten to know me, it's always kind of been just like, we're gonna step away. And so I think it came from my personal fear of someone actually getting to know me and understanding me and deciding it's not worth it. And also, I think the theme of it came from understanding that that's a really common feeling among many people, and just having that feeling of unconditional love and acceptance of who you are is even in song form is just such a comfort. And I think that's one thing we really strive to convey towards our listeners, that there's someone out there who's going to care for you no matter who you are and what your flaws are. And I think that's really where it comes from, is just the desire to let people know that, so.
Wow. I'm just like, whoa. Okay. Wow. Other themes that show up quite frequently are being independent and finding a home in the people you love and surround yourself with. You want to talk about that as well? Because those pop up so often.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think during this time when we were writing most of these songs, both Phillip and I were kind of in a tumultuous place where a lot of things were changing. You were moving, I was going to college, and all these things were happening, and we were both realizing, like, we're becoming adults. Like, we are grown-ups now. We are responsible for ourselves. This is kind of the first time that we can really genuinely say that. And that was a really big part of our lives during that time. And so, it came out in our music, like Sail On was about kind of moving away from home and not knowing what comes next and wondering if you're going to have the strength to keep going,
Yeah.
And I feel like when we wrote those songs, we found out how much it resonates with so many others, and how much that experience is shared through so many others, and it doesn't really ever go away. You keep hitting these milestones of, you don't know what comes next. You don't know what's happening next, and it's just kind of life. So I know that's kind of why we chose to keep it a reoccurring theme, because it's something that resonates with so many people. And
Yeah, I think the age where you realize, like, home isn't home anymore, where you like when you say, oh, I'm headed home for the weekend, or I'm going home to visit my family, but like, that's not where you live. So like, I don't know, the word home versus like your house is a different meaning and stuff like that. And that's kind of for how I found my home, or have I found my home. That's kind of how that song was envisioned, is like, we don't have the house, but as long as we have each other, we have a home, kind of deal. So that's where that came from. And I think everyone has that in their life. Everyone has a moment where they're like, oh, I don't live at home anymore. My parents live at home. I live at an apartment near my college or whatever, with 3 other people.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the idea behind that.
Yeah, I feel like I'm gonna be awakened to that soon, since I'm not gonna be a sophomore in college. So that's coming up really quickly.
For sure. Yeah,
And
that feeling, 100%, that's around when that starts to kick in. So.
Oh, yeah. I think my sophomore year was when we wrote Sail On. So
Yeah, so get ready for that.
Yeah.
Great. Have either of you helped write songs for other artists that are part of the Vohnic music label? If the answer is yes, who have you collaborated with? If the answer is no, who do you want to collaborate with, or like be featured on, or something along those lines?
So Vian and I were, I guess some history is, I met Vian about 10 years ago, and about like a week after I met him, we started a band. And so we've written, tons of songs together. A lot of the songs that we've done together have been released through his projects. Vian, he is prolific in how he writes.
Oh, so true.
He can walk out the room and come back with 3 new songs, and they're all like smash songs.
Yeah.
And so I have, I'll contribute a verse or something like that. But he's fantastic. But I mean, he's amazing to write with. So I've had the good fortune of I think Vian and I, when we were in a band together, released about 20 or 25 songs when we were in college. And I mean, we still work together, we still write together and stuff pretty frequently. And then I think Vian will be okay if we tell this, but we did a collaboration with Sara.
Really?
And it's going to be one of her songs, but we kind of co-wrote it. And I don't know when the release date is, so I that's probably all I'm allowed to say is it's coming soon.
Nice.
And we're really excited about it. It's going to be I think it's turned out super well. I'm really excited.
It's turned out really well, and it's a really touching song and really beautiful. So.
Yeah. Oh, and Jeremy and I, we write together all the time. We've had a couple writing sessions.
Oh, yeah.
Like that.
Jeremy Ravine, right?
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. And for the audience that doesn't know who Sara is this mysterious being. Yeah, Sara is Juniper Vale. That's her real name.
The Bruce Wayne to her Batman.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So that's really awesome. How about any of the like smaller artists? Like I'm like trying to think of other names, like Zach Canal.
Yeah, I think that's his name, Zach Alice.
Yeah, there's he's signed because I hadn't been on the Vohnic Music website for like many months since like about the start of my first year of college in the fall, and I looked on there like a few months ago and I'm like, he signed how many new artists? I was like, there were so many new names. I was like, I have to catch up. I have to listen to all these people's music because I love this label. It's like, what happened? Sure. It was like only like 6 people. Now it's like 15.
Yeah. He like exploded with a bunch of artists.
Absolutely.
Him. Dan joined. I think Dan's been around for forever, so it's hard to. I don't remember when he officially like joined and like released his music and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've only met Zach, I think, once. But
really? Wow.
I don't know if you listened to a song Through My Mind, but that song is on repeat for me. I am floored by like how sway-y that song is. Micah, who is Polar.
Yeah.
And so I think that's how Vian met him, was through Micah. But yeah, that song is incredible.
Yeah.
And Dan and I haven't written anything yet, but we've worked on like a lot of. He's a photographer and does graphic design as well, so we've worked on like design stuff.
Yeah.
He's fun to work with.
He's an incredibly talented in marketing and photography as well as music.
Yeah.
And, so we've been working on him with marketing, things like that, working on getting some photo shoots going and stuff like that. So we've been collaborating in that sense, and hopefully soon to be in the musical sense, because he's fantastic.
Yeah.
So.
I loved his EP. It was so good.
Oh yeah, it was fantastic.
So good.
Yeah. Okay, so now moving on to the fan questions. One sec. Let me go to the second page. Okay, here we go. Okay, fan questions. Okay, so the first one is from @abhero_ means cloud on Instagram. They asked, your album arts are amazing. Would you consider making visualizers for your songs in the future? Because whenever I listen to Ghost of You, I always hallucinate that the ghost in the album is flying around.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah.
It's something we've wanted to do. Illustration is very time consuming.
Yeah.
And Hein is like, I don't know if you follow Hein on any of his projects, but like he's working for like Disney and like Honda and movies and stuff like that. So
he's
like
in high demand. So
anytime we can like quickly say hi, and we just need an illustration real quick for this, like that takes a long time for him to get done. So I I would love to animate that. We've done kind of short ones where they like come in and out with a little bit of animation, but not like movement. It's definitely something I would love to do, because exactly that that idea of the ghost or the couple dancing or something like that is, I think, would be a powerful image, but it's just something that I don't have that skill set. I mean, very few people can illustrate as well as Hein does. But that is definitely something that I would love to do.
We would love to do it, and hopefully we'll find the logistics to get it done at some point.
I messed around with it with I forget what program I was using, but it looked very like liquidy and very kind of like, because it, instead of making like animation, like illustration animation, I was just trying to get the people to move, and it looked very like wonky, and I was like, this isn't looking good. So I just kind of gave up on that.
Okay. Yeah, I was, when he said that, I was like, "Ooh, this actually sounds interesting. I wouldn't have thought of this question." Yeah, so let's look forward to that if that happens in the future. So the next fan question is from @TroyanAbed.inthemorning on Instagram, which is a community fan page.
Yeah.
Yep, love that show.
So good.
So he asked 2 questions. What is the story behind your song Eloise? And personally, I also had this question and was wondering if it was about someone you know, or is it based off of a story of some kind?
Sure. Eloise is my best friend's daughter. So we wrote, she's, I think, 1.5 or something. I'm not sure how old she is.
She's 2.
She's 2?
She's 2. She's turning 3 this year.
Okay. But I'm awful with like kid ages. Like I see a small person, I'm just like, you could be 1, you could be 6.
Yeah.
I have no idea. But no, we I had that guitar riff, and I was just kind of like put it on a loop pedal, and was just kind of messing around with that the riff at the very beginning of the song. And Sabrina had written the verse, the count your steps, stuff like that, and I was like, this is a very like, it sounds like somebody that is very nervous. And then I think it was the next day I was hanging out with my friend Josh, and he told us like they decided on a name. This was before she was born. They're like, we've decided on a name. It's going to be Eloise. And immediately I was like, all right, that's the song. Like the song is going to be like kind of from the perspective of like like count your steps, remember this moment, like be in the like while the child is being born, like this is the best day of your life, so like you know, just remember to be in the moment for it, is kind of more or less where that song came from.
Yeah,
just kind of the story of parenthood and the first child, and the excitement and fear and wonder of it all. That was really inspired by his best friend and their family and their new wonderful baby.
Yeah,
it's just crazy because I mean, I know Josh since I was like 5 or 6, so knowing someone since you were 6 and being roommates in college, and now they have a child, and you're just like, this is a weird thing, you know. Like going from playing Super Smash Brothers with you, and it felt like a year ago, and now you have a small child that you look after. So that's more or less where that idea came from.
nice. And he also had a second question. What is your songwriting process, and what do you do when an idea comes to you? And I can tell from what we've already talked about so far that both of you guys write lyrics, you guys write like instrumental parts. So, I mean, that's kind of obvious, but like, what's your process in writing a song?
Our process is that there really isn't a process.
Exactly.
I probably 3 of the songs on the album are songs that like were halfway like a dream. Like Don't Hold Back is a great example of a song that like I dreamt the first verse of that song, woke up and was like, where's my phone? I need to write this down real quick. Like open up in the notes app and write it down. There are a couple other things like that, but I'm terrible at like, okay, from 9 o'clock to noon, I'm going to sit down and write a song. I can't write songs that way. It's got to be like, just an idea's got to strike. And so for me, I kind of think of phrases that I'll say or think of and write them down in the notes app. And then, you know, when they come back, that's how I know that they're something worth writing, and I'll kind of play from there. But a lot of it, and I think the song "All the Saints" is kind of an example of it. Legitimately, a lot of it is I'm lying in bed at night and I can't sleep, and it's kind of just stuff that is coming to me as I'm lying in bed. And that song, I wrote that song, you know, just sitting there lying in bed, trying to sleep. So that's kind of my process. I know you're probably a little bit different than I am.
Yeah, I think for me, a lot of it is a mindset of when I am in the mindset to create, I'll be able to, you know, if that makes sense. But I'm kind of the same way. I can't really just sit down and decide I'm going to write a song right now and then it happened, you know. It's a very and for me personally, most of the time it's when I'm driving home. If I'm driving, I'll be like, oh, I've got a song idea, and I'll just like turn off my radio and like turn on my like voice memo and just kind of record as I'm driving, singing something. Like, and in fact, that's how I wrote Songbird. Was I was driving home, and this idea came to me, and I had half of it written by the time I got home. So, but yeah, I mean, honestly, it's just kind of whenever inspiration strikes and something comes to you is really when I'll sit down and work through it. And I think we're both very different, where I think I will sit down until I complete a song. But Phillip usually will like sit down and write a verse and a chorus and then be like, all right, let's demo it out. And I'll be like, wait, what about the rest of the song? And then Phil's like, we'll write it later. It's fine.
Yeah, I like to hear the instrumentation as close as it's going to. I like to go in a direction of the instrumentation as soon as I can. You know, as soon as the song has some semblance of a structure, that's when I get out Logic or GarageBand or something, and then just like, all right, here's what I'm thinking. It's going to be bass piano, like it's going to be a piano-based song, but then here's where the drums are going to sound like, here's what the guitars are going to sound like, here are the harmonies, and that helps me finish the song more than just writing like a second verse and a bridge, you know?
Sorry, they're nervous about the fireworks.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's kind of that's my favorite way to do it. It's just when I even just a chorus. If I have a chorus, that's enough for me to go on, and I can kind of make up a verse chord progression and go from there. Yeah.
Yeah, honestly, I mean, I haven't like written many lyrics, so to say, like of the lyric-based songs I've written. There have been very, very few. I've done a lot more, like, I mean, as you guys have probably heard, I've done a lot more just like electronic, like, I'll just make this on GarageBand, I'll make this on BandLab. Like, it's been like a lot of like just like short electronic stuff, but that's what I have in my mind, and that's what I just kind of lay out there. And even though it's simple, it's not really too advanced. It's just like something to get my mind moving, to get me a little bit more experienced in the production phase, since I am very, very new at it. And I mean, even though I don't have as much experience in lyric writing, there have been those few times where I've had like inspiration. I mean, there's been that one time when in a free period in my senior year of high school, I literally sat down and I was like, okay, I'm going to write a song. And I could only write a chorus, and I've tried to go back to that song, and I've never been able to write anything else from that song. It's just been like, it is so, it's like, this chorus is so fantastic, but I can't find anything else to match it with. It's
Yeah.
it's so frustrating. But then there are like those
Yeah.
other times, which, sorry mom, I know you'll be listening to this, but there was the one time, senior year of high school. It's my song "Me," which I have a demo out of just me and piano, which was recorded in a practice room in my high school, honestly. But I wrote that after I had an argument with her. I literally wrote it. I had an argument with her, and then I went to bed and I got on like my school issued iPad and just wrote lyrics and like wrote that song. And then after I looked at the lyrics later, I was like, this is actually not that bad of a song. I wrote pretty good lyrics when I was mad at my mom.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. Yeah, I don't think there are definitely people like your sister is one of them that can like they schedule when they're gonna write songs,
Mhm.
and they're like, all right, from here to here is when I'm gonna sit down and write a song today,
Mhm.
and I all the power in the world to them, but I cannot do that. You know, I have to be
Mm-hmm.
in the moment. I have to something's got to hit just right,
Yeah.
and that's where it comes from. And I think like there's the adage in songwriting because I've never been a prolific songwriter. Like I've written, you know, like 20 songs in my life, and 12 of them we recorded. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like I've never written a lot, but there's the saying like to be an expert songwriter you have to write like your 100 bad songs, write those first and get them out of the way, and then you start writing your good ones. But I think that's for people that do that, where they write every day. And I think there are other people that they write in like a more clumped kind of different way. And I think that's how we are.
Yeah.
And maybe it bypasses the 100 crappy songs. I'm not sure. I'd hope so, because no, we're in the good stuff. But I think there's just different styles of songwriting, and to each their own.
Yeah. Okay, so next fan question from @CommunityCuties on Instagram, another community fan page. As you can tell, I'm a part of a group chat.
That's awesome.
What do you think you would be doing if you didn't get into a music career?
So I make websites as well. That's what I do, like I guess my day job or something, I guess. And so I think for me the answer is just making things. I love, like, you can see like the Lego statue right there.
Yes.
All these sound panels that I built yesterday and today. Just making things is one of my favorite things to do. So anything that involves doing that is probably what I would be doing.
Yeah.
So I would probably be working in a newspaper somewhere if I could find a job working in a newspaper somewhere. That would be the kicker. But no, I have a degree in journalism, and so anything in communications is kind of where I feel at home. So
nice.
Yeah.
So next one. Oh, I can hear my echo. So from @_castle_ on Instagram, I would like to know who their heroes are and who they hope their music will impact the most.
Is that musical heroes or heroes in general?
Let's just do heroes in general, honestly.
Heroes in general.
Yeah.
Oh man, I don't think I've thought about who my hero is since I was like 13, and that was like my pageant question. Like,
maybe Barack Obama.
that would be a good one. That would be a good one. Man, honestly, I think my hero, both musically and generally, would be Sara Bareilles. She's just a phenomenal human being, and is so incredibly talented. And I
She is.
don't know, I love everything about her, and I want to be Sara Bareilles when I grow up. And like, she's just kind of the gold standard, you know? And so I would probably say Sara Bareilles.
I'm trying to think of anyone outside of music that I really look up to. Nothing's coming immediately, which is probably not a great answer. I've been reading a lot of like kind of, there's this a Dutch author by the name of Rutger Bregman,
No idea.
and he talks about, he's like a historian, and so he's a very looks at history from a lens of the idea that humanity has come so far in the last 100 years, like all these amazing things that we've done, like in the last 100 years. And he talked a lot about Bill Gates basically curing malaria, like taking this disease from this rampant, crazy disease that was sweeping through Africa to something that's a lot more manageable and a lot better off now. I mean, that's very that's something that, like, I mean, cool, he made Microsoft Office and all that stuff, but like basically curing malaria is something that I think he needs to be known for going forward. So that might be, and that's you know, recency bias because I was reading the book like 2 days ago, but that might be an answer. Maybe Donald Glover, going back to those community things.
Yes.
Every single thing that Donald Glover has ever done is like the most amazing thing.
So
from
true.
From writing 30 Rock, and then even like the Derek comedy stuff on YouTube,
Mm-hmm.
to his stand-up, to Community, to his music now, to being freaking Lando Calrissian, like, but like and Atlanta, which is also amazing.
Don't tell me anything about season 2. I've only watched the first season and the first episode of season 2, so I'm still watching it. But I absolutely love it. It's so good.
It's so powerful. But yeah, like the way he is able to effortlessly put things that are relevant, like culturally significant things. I mean, I say effortlessly, but it might, from his standpoint, it might be something that he's meticulously thought through. But it looks like he does it effortlessly and can create something so amazing, so powerful, just like that, like in every medium. It blows my mind. Like, yeah, he's incredible. So he might be up there, but I feel like heroes can't be, like, he's probably in his mid 30s, and I feel like for some reason I think the word hero, and I think someone that's like lived a life, you know.
Yeah, I get that.
So that might not be a great one to go with. Maybe Bono's a good one too.
There's a lot of them out there, honestly.
Yeah, for sure.
But I guess as far as who we want, what was the exact wording? Who we want to
impact
the most?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, as far as like who we're wanting to impact, I think honestly it really boils down to the idea that we really want to be the musicians that we looked up to growing up. And just the impact we want to make is just being a comfort for someone who needs it, or being the confirmation that they're not alone in something. And I think that's really what we strive for, is to, it's not a specific person, but it's just any person in need of that, you know, is really what we strive for.
Yeah, I think for me always it's been when I was like 15, 16 and like learning like guitar in my bedroom or whatever, and I was kind of like playing along to songs and like really into, I was just hardcore into like the Shins, Switchfoot, Reliant K, all these like kind of bands that blew up in like the mid to late 2000s and early 2010s. Just learning all of their songs and then like relating to their lyrics and stuff like that. Like if I could be that person to the person that's doing that now, that's kind of our goal, you know?
Yeah.
And so that for me, that's the coolest thing that anyone ever does, is when people ask us for like chords or lyrics to our songs, stuff like that. I'm like, cool, someone's wanting to like learn it, you know? So that for me is my favorite thing that any bands do, is when they ask for chords and lyrics and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it always makes like the struggles of everything so much worth it when we get that message of someone saying like, you guys have no idea how much your music has impacted my life, and things like that. And those moments are just so special and mean so much, you know. And I think really it's not who we want to impact, it's that we want to impact those who need it the most, you know. And so I think that's that, I guess.
Yeah. That's awesome. Okay, next one. From Riley Moody on Instagram. What influenced your guys' musical technique and style individually and as a group?
Coldplay for me again. It's gonna be Coldplay. That was the first. Like I took piano lessons since I was like 5 or 6, but it was always like boring classical stuff that I just could not get into, just because I was so young, you know. And it's just like, why would I want to learn stuff that I don't like? And then I had another teacher that like, he was like, well, like, what kind of stuff do you like? And I was like, well, I'm listening to like Ben Folds and Coldplay and Switchfoot. And Ben Folds is another one of those on the heroes question.
Oh my god,
he's fantastic, man.
Dude, his songwriting is otherworldly and just crazy. Like, it's like, how would you even like think to write that piano lick right there? Like, that just seems ridiculous, but it sounds so good.
I'm constantly in awe of everything he does. He's so fantastic. But yeah, it's like I was, I think, 13, and he was just like, well, let's learn some Coldplay, let's learn some Ben Folds. And so I guess those are the two biggest things, I guess, influences on my music from there. And then he taught me like the number system, the like 1, 4, 5, 6 chord progressions and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And that's basically been the foundation of my musical theory knowledge.
Really?
In that world is just like, is knowing sheet music, but like not like knowing that foundation, but then also learning the kind of more pop music theory and where that comes from. And that for me, that's what changed the game when I was 13 or 14 and learning Coldplay. That was the biggest thing. And then a couple of years later I picked up guitar, and probably again Coldplay or U2 were like the influences, because I'm not someone that like shreds or has to like do kind of like heavy riffs and metal stuff, but like the subtle stuff that Johnny Buckland does on the Coldplay albums, or that The Edge does on U2's albums, that's always I've always loved that. So that's kind of been the two biggest guitar inspirations for me. I don't know what your answer's probably gonna be, Sara Bareilles.
Well, actually, I mean, I think my musical influence has really been Death Cab for Cutie.
Really?
Which I absolutely love them. But I say that because Phil kind of briefly brought it up, but I was raised in the world of country music, and as much as I love my roots and where I grew up listening to like good old 90s country, Death Cab was like my first dive into the indie world. And so Death Cab for Cutie, Snow Patrol, and The Killers were the 3 bands that I really broke into the indie alternative rock world in listening to music. And before that, I had only ever listened to like country music and stuff like that, you know, like the CDs rotating in my mom's car were Garth Brooks and Celine Dion. So that was pretty much all I was exposed to up until that point. And so when I was learning guitar, it was those 3 artists that I was just learning everything. And so I think they had a really big influence on how I play guitar, how I sing, how I write, because they were the basis on how I learned, you know? So I think it kind of melts down to that. And my love for Sara Bareilles has always been there. And I will say, I think she has a lot of influence on my vocals. I think I find my vocal style really mirroring hers a lot, which, I mean, I'm honestly okay with if if anyone says, wow, you sound like Sara Bareilles. And I'm like, my work here is done. Thank you. I'm just going to call it a day. We're done. That's all. All right. I'm just going to leave on this high note here. So.
Yep. When you get told that your voice sounds like Sara Bareilles, you've ended your music career.
Yes,
you were just done. You can go no higher.
Exactly. No point going any further. You can never surpass this moment.
Which means that me and Phillip will never get to that point in any way possible.
Nope.
Oh, man. Well, yeah, I would say those are my influences.
For sure.
So.
Okay, and then last fan question, which is from my mom. Okay, so she asked, how long have you been collaborating on your music? Did you start creating music before or after you guys started dating?
That's actually kind of a fun question because it was after we started dating.
Really?
Did you?
Yeah.
And it kind of came out of, like, we were both like really worried to like bring up our music, and we're just like, I don't know if like he wants to write with me, or I don't know, I don't want to like pressure him into this, but I'd really like to work on music. And like one day it became a conversation where we both sat down and we're like, I kind of want to work on music. And then you're like, well, I kind of do too. I was like, well, would you want to work together on it? I was like, well, I was going to ask you, but I didn't know if you would want to.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much, it more or less was that I didn't want to push you to something that you didn't want to do, but I had written, like, I was just demoing out a bunch of songs that I had written in our like old apartment, and I had that guitar riff in Ceylon I'd had for a couple months, and I was writing it, and I was writing the first verse to that, and I was like, this doesn't fit my register, like this is way too high for me. And I was just like, hey Sabrina, come sing this real quick, I just want to see what it sounds like. And that was basically the first time I was like, oh, this could be something, you know, this could work. Why not? Let's give it a shot.
Sure.
And then like you were saying, you wrote stories like a couple months into us dating, and
I was so scared to play it.
I didn't hear it for like 4 years.
Yeah.
Like
Really?
Yeah. So like there definitely there was like a awkwardness of like we didn't want to play each other this stuff, because I mean there is a element of personalness in music, you know, like you were saying with like you've written a song about a conversation that you had with your mom, but you don't want to be like, this is a song about you, hope you like it, you know, like, so
Yeah.
I think that there is an element of music is going to be personal, and you don't want to, like, especially if you're dating someone, you don't want to be like, I wrote the song, it's about you, or I wrote the song and it's not about you. Like, there's no good way to
Yeah.
do it,
Yeah.
you know? So you could write a breakup song and you're like, well, is this about me, or is this about you? Like, do you want to break up with me? So there's an awkwardness. And so it took a long time, and I talked with Vian about this as well, because I don't know, I think it was a secret for a long time. I think it's that, but Vian and Sara, or Vian and June Prevail, are married in real life.
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't know if they
announced it a little while ago.
Okay, I didn't know if they
Yeah.
had officially
He
announced
officially announced
it.
it.
Yeah, but I always talk to him if it's awkward writing with Sara or showing songs to Sara, because he has a lot of maybe breakup-y songs.
Yeah.
And I think they've had the same exact conversation. It's
Yeah.
just like, you can't take it personally. It's just what you had going through you at the time, like the energy that you had going through you.
Yeah. And I don't know, like, it took us a while. It took us like a year and a half into our relationship to really be comfortable working on music together. We always knew both of us were talented, but never really, like, I guess, believed in ourselves enough to think that the other would want to work with us. And so, but yeah, I'm glad we finally got over that, and here we are.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I think all your fans are very happy that you guys were able to collab.
For sure.
Yeah.
I mean, it's definitely something that, like, wasn't expecting it. Like, this time a couple of years ago, like, I wouldn't have really thought that we would be doing it, So it's really cool. It's definitely been an awesome experience so far.
Yeah.
It's been really great.
So that is the last fan question. I had one more question that I forgot to write down, of course, and I just remembered it after the first fan question. So there is something about that first song on your album. Can't remember the name of it for the life of me right now.
The intro song?
Yeah, the intro song.
What's I'm Not Who I Was?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It sounds so overly different from the rest of the album. Like, how did you come to that being the intro? Like just what was the idea behind that?
For sure. That song was, I'd always wanted to, it was probably the last or second to last song we did. And then it's funny, there's another song that we haven't released yet that we thought we were going to put on the album that we recorded, and then ended up like, oh, this will work for the next project. Let's save it. And we switched that out with All the Saints. But that was a song that I knew I wanted an intro with samples from all of the other songs. Really? So if you listen, there's all of the vocal chops in it are taken from other songs, and it's kind of it's an introduction. It's like, here are a bunch of elements that you're going to hear, but then doing the music, it was us in a studio, just the three of us, and like the percussion is just me hitting a wall, and so that's where that there's a beat that comes in, and it's just me like smacking on a wall with like a microphone like 2 feet away from it, and it's something that we just wanted to build, and just like a thing that came into it. I'm trying to remember anything else specific about that song, and then the lyric, I'm not who I was, I'm not who I will be, is kind of what an idea that we wanted to kind of keep in the entire album. So like the first song and the last song kind of ended with that. Yeah. I don't know if you had anything else.
I think it was not only a way to just insert like a really interesting, captivating intro,
Yeah.
but also a way to almost introduce what we want to do in the future, you know? And I feel like the intro is a really nice teaser, but also keeping some of the elements of the other album, of the rest of the album, like present, you know? But I think it almost is a like really good example of the I am not who I was, I am not who I will be. It's because this album took course over a few years, you know, and I think it shows because you can hear the difference in a lot of the songs that have been put together of like the difference the time has made. And I think that it became a really good example of like, we're no longer making like this Ceylon-esque music, but we're also really moving into new things that we haven't touched yet, you know? And so just kind of like we're in that in-between spot, you know?
Nice.
And I think that's something that we really wanted to illustrate with that intro song. So
yeah. Well, that is awesome. Last question. I know that we want to plug your newest album, which came out in April. It is amazing, everyone. Go and listen to it. It's out everywhere that you can probably find it, like Spotify, Apple Music, you know, Amazon, all that general stuff. You can find it all there. But any future projects, I'm hearing you allude to some in the future, but like anything coming really soon.
Yeah. We originally, I think, like, I guess the way that a lot of music is released now, it's like in cycles. Like I'm sure you know, you do singles that build up to the album, and like how that period is getting like stretched out. Like it used to be like 2 singles then an album, and now it's like 6 singles and then the album. You know, kind of. So we were gonna start another one of those cycles here in a month, and then the tornado and coronavirus kind of hit back to back, and put a pause on those plans. So we've got like a bunch of songs in the chamber ready to go, but we want to do it a lot, not as spread out as we did with the last album where it was like a song a month for 10 months. You know, we kind of want a more compact release window. So we're waiting to finish a lot more instead of doing them month and month. But yeah, we've got a couple collaborations, like we said, the one with Sara or Juniper Vale. And then I think, so I don't know if you can tell, but we have spent the last 2 months basically like redoing this room that we're in now. And like you can see, I've built all these sound panels and stuff like that. So this is going to be our recording studio.
Nice.
And so I think we're going to break it in with a cover, an EP of covers. So
nice.
Do like
Love
5 or
covers.
5 or 6 covers in our own way, still keeping the vibe of the original artist kind of thing. I think that's what we want to do to like really get to know the space, get to know the room and stuff like that. So that's kind of, I think that's what we're wanting to do. We're still finalizing everything, but I think we're going to announce it here in a couple weeks, like officially, like with the album covers and some the songs and stuff like that. So if you have any, if you have any ideas for songs that you think we could do, just send them our way.
Oh, I have, you know, I have so many playlists that I've made because I've been using Spotify since 2015. So I've gotten to the point where early in my first year of college, Spotify gave me the notification, oh, you have liked too many songs. It is impossible for you to like any more songs.
Really?
And I'm like, I was like, oh no. I was like, I have to start making monthly playlists now so I can make sure I know which songs I liked in each month. And I was like, I didn't know you could get to a limit of like just under 10,000 like songs on Spotify. I was like, there's a restriction for this?
That's crazy.
Yeah, I was like, oh no. And I mean, I probably have to clean it out because you know how there's all those newer artists, because this is kind of the thing that started in the 2010s. It really didn't happen that much before, was where they release a few singles or a bunch of singles and then they release the album.
Yeah.
Well, I think for a lot of those artists, I liked all the singles and then I liked all the songs on the album, so I probably need to, unlike some of the singles, so those can get some less likes.
It's weird how that works with like different releases. Like I have, I mean, just I think I have the same song like 3 times in there on my like things, because I know when people switch, when they switch distributors, it's a different release. So if you haven't liked it, you can go like it again. And so I know I've seen a song in my liked playlist 3 or 4 times in there, because it's like, you know, the single version and then the album version, and then they switch distributors and you like the different album version. Yeah, it's kind of a mess. They need to kind of clean that up, maybe. I don't know how they do it, but they need to tighten that up.
Honestly, that would take too much time, and I have that time to spend on, you know, other important things. So obviously that's going to stall. So thank you guys so much for being on the first episode of the podcast. I really, really appreciate it. I love talking with you guys.
This is awesome.
Yeah,
man.
this is super cool. Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah, sure. Make sure you guys stream their album, and we'll be back with a new episode sooner or later. I'm not going to give you an ultimate date because I have no clue. It's the first time, so I'm just trying this out. Okay, see you guys all later. Thank you.
Yeah.